Welcome to Uxbridge Beat, the podcast where we feature the who's who of Uxbridge, Ontario. My name is Scott Campsell.
And I am Jennifer Neville Campsell. And today we are chatting with Tanner Ferris.
If you have been involved in the Uxbridge theatre community over the last decade, you are already familiar with Tanner.
Tanner has a rich background in dance and theatre, but has now made his directorial debut in the onstage Uxbridge production of Rent.
Regardless of whether you may be an experienced theatre goer or perhaps performer, or maybe you have never even seen a musical before, Tanner still has an incredible story to share of how Rent came to be, how it went, and now what is on the theatre horizon.
We hope you enjoy this episode as much as all of his sold-out audiences enjoyed the show. Congratulations on coming off of Rent, or congratulations going into Rent and coming out of it. You're still in one piece.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of pieces missing still, but I think that's just the emotional come down of a show, right?
Tell us about the whole journey.
I guess it started a couple of years ago with just getting on the board, and we started getting to this point of how do we bring in income? How do we bring in the younger generation into Uxbridge Theatre? We cater to a lot of the older generation that is slowly starting to no longer be a part of it. And a couple years ago, Rent came up and it got brushed off the table a little bit. And then COVID happened. We kind of just fell out. There was no theater for a couple of years. So coming back, we needed to come back with a swift kick to get everybody back in, make some money, build up our shows again, and just kind of recreate the interest. So Rent kind of came to be because of that. It was one of those shows that I know we can relate to the older generation who originally went to see it when it came out, and the newer generation of people in the theater and the arts that are still living through the same kind of stuff that Rent talks about. I pushed for it really hard. It's a very touchy topic for Uxbridge, specifically with the theater company. They were very tentative to do the show itself. The challenge, of course, of multiracial casting and the topics that the show talks about, such as homelessness, cost of living, LGBTQ rights, and frankly, it's rated R. So that was a huge deterrent for the board. Sitting on the board, I was able to push for that, and we went through a very couple strenuous discussions about why the show works best for Uxbridge. And there was a little bit of, can we do this as Tanner's first show directing it? And they put the trust in me, and we went forward with it. And within 2 weeks, we had 36 people signed up for auditions, which is astronomical. That doesn't happen that quickly generally.
Especially right after the pandemic.
Exactly. So we tried to get that going really quickly. We did a lot of promotions and got the rights. And as soon as we started going ahead with it, we had amazing turnout. It was a very emotional time for me because it was my biggest dream. To put Rent on is my dream show. And finding the people that had the same dream to be in this show was amazing. Renee, who played Maureen, this was her biggest dream role, was to play Maureen because her idol was Idina Menzel. So having that cast that knew exactly what was going on, why they wanted it to have that emotional connection in our show was fantastic, and anything more, I couldn't have wished for anything more. And then moving to rehearsal spaces, we started with just our leads because the whole point of the show is that your 8 leads are tight knit. They get drunk all the time and they party and hang out, and they all have to be really close. So we did 2 months of rehearsals with just our leads to kind of create that tight-knit community, and it paid off so well. About 2 months later, we brought in the rest of our chorus, and everybody just synced up perfectly. We spent probably 2 nights a week after rehearsals at Wixon's just drinking, which huge for the show, and everybody got really close to the point where there was so much trust built with our cast that I could be like, okay, cool, you're going to grab her boobs now. And there was no issues. There was a lot of challenges moving through the show because of having 2 straight women play lesbian lovers and having to get them to connect on that level. And there was a lot of work that had to be done in those realms, and it worked so well, and they killed it. And it shows with how well our tickets sold and the talk. Like, there were people on groups in Uxbridge looking for tickets throughout the Uxbridge buy and sell groups. And that was amazing to watch happen.
I've never seen that.
Never.
In all my years of doing theater or going to theater, or I've never seen that happen for an Uxbridge show. It was almost completely sold out for every show, to the point not only were people asking for tickets, you were doing last minute extra 20 seats just at the door.
Yep, we had to add seats on the floor.
It's remarkable. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What do you attribute that to? Is it the show itself, or is it we haven't been out for 3 years? Let's go out and see something that's on stage.
A little bit of both. There's a lot of we haven't been out for a long time and holy cow, let's go do something. But it also has to do with the show and the amount of people in the show. When we cast the show, we had a very deep discussion about how our casting is going to sit. Are we going to cast Uxbridge individuals specifically, or do we blow this out of proportion? And we decided to blow it out. And now we had people from the city of Toronto as our leads. We had people from Oshawa. We had people in the show that were auditioning from Lindsay, Port Perry. So it pushed out that ticket group from just Uxbridge and Durham region to basically the GTA. We had our cast members selling tickets and promoting the show like crazy. A couple of our leads are responsible for probably 80 to 100 tickets just by themselves each. So between just our leads selling tickets, they probably sold out 2 of our shows for us. And then the board, my producer, Christine Elliott, she's also the promotions person for our board. So she did all of our advertising and pushed the show so well. Every single person, we had 24 cast members, were sharing every post. We did TikToks. We put it on every platform we could possibly think of. And we're going to follow up as well, doing a TikTok dance for La Vie Boheme and push that out to bring more people back into our company and kind of relay who we are, why we do what we do, and pull our not-for-profit community theater company into a semi-professional theater company. I think that's what this show did for us as a company, was say, this is what we can do. This is what we can deliver. There's a quality to theater that has to be built up now, because you can sit at home on Netflix and watch anything. Hamilton came out on Disney Plus, and that was kind of the breaking point for theater. You now have to one up sitting at home watching a Netflix show or a musical on Disney. And to pull people out post-pandemic was really difficult, but we did it. I'm still in shock about how we did it.
What's your theater background?
I grew up in the city, and I went to Topical School of the Arts for dance. I was a competitive dancer for 8 years, and then moved up here when I was 16 and got back into theater in Uxbridge. I started with Uxbridge Youth Theater in White Christmas, and that just snowballed, and I ended up choreographing Footloose for them while I was at university for dance. And then I got very jaded by the dance industry while I was at York, because doing the thing that you are most passionate about as a career and having to go through all that process of auditioning and teaching yourself and helping in the competitive aspect I wasn't good at, because it's not about me. I wanted to give back. So coming back and getting involved in community theater kind of is what I started doing. And I've been part of 186 shows, be it dance, a recital, a musical, as a tech, as a stagehand, being in the show, ushering, or just being a board member. So I've kind of just been the jack of all trades for theater in Uxbridge for 12 years now.
And let's not forget, you were the Nutcracker this year in the Nutcracker.
Yeah. So that was also fun, because being able to kind of use some skills and expertise that I haven't used in a long time was super exciting and thrilling to be the oldest person in the show. And kind of being a 28-year-old dancing with 16-year-olds, it pushes them as well and gives them a perspective of, look, you can still do this when you're older. I went to school for it. I still didn't finish school for it, but I still do it, and I still make money doing it. I have a full-time career, because otherwise I would not make any money. But
that's not totally unheard of in theater, though. To have another career.
No, most people are servers or do 12 other jobs on the side. And I think that's the opposite of me. I have my full-time job, and I do 12 to 15 shows a year because I love it. And it's awesome for our community, and it builds up a massive amount of community support and trust. We got over $3,000 in sponsorship for rent because we reached out, and it just showed the community support. A lot of small businesses donating time, money, product, putting up our posters. It's all the community build and the support that we have from the community to do that.
What brought you to Uxbridge?
My mom and my dad grew up in Stouffville. My dad ended up moving out here, and my mom and I moved to this city, and we didn't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. And when I was 16, I moved up here with my dad. And from like spending 2 years here in high school, I felt I didn't have a lot of people. So I was kind of one of those, spend 2 years university and then come home and all of my friends that I made were still at university. So that's where I dove really deep into the community because I needed support groups and I needed people. And then I just fell in love with Uxbridge, and now it's really hard to leave. I've never found a community that is as supportive as the Uxbridge community. There are 12 different niches within our community, but at the end of the day, the arts community in Uxbridge is one of the most supportive communities I've ever been a part of. And we can all be a little bit dicks to each other, but at the same time, the amount of passion that comes out of Uxbridge, the arts scene and the music scene and the theater scene and the dance scene, it's beautiful to watch.
Do you sing?
I do, yes.
Are you trained?
You can't. It's been some time.
I know somebody. Oh. You know, if you're interested in any training, that'd be fine.
I might hit you up on that one. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's been some time since I was saying, what was the last one I did? Pre-COVID. I think it was Oklahoma, but that's only because I'm so involved in theater. I'm the dancer. Everybody always calls me to go, we need somebody now. Can you come fill in? And then I'm like, sure, I'll come dance. I'll be in 4 scenes. And they'll be like, cool. And then I get in there and they're like, you have 14 lines and you're going to sing a song. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a commitment I didn't actually commit to. So sure. And that's what they asked. We did the same thing for Joseph, their shorter brother. And I was like, I'll be a brother. And then we sang through 2 or 3 songs. And I was like, nope, I'm going to emancipate because I do not want to do this show and choreograph it while I'm doing 2 other shows. I'm going to spread myself too thin. Rent taught me that very quickly. Yeah, Tech Week, I slept 17 hours in 7 days.
It's a big commitment.
Oh, massive commitment. I looked homeless by the end of that week because...
Oh, you fit right into the...
It was, I could have walked right on stage. It was fantastic. I don't think I changed my pants or my shirt for 7 days and didn't shave, and my hair was a mess and there was paint everywhere. I had paint in my eyebrow for 4 days before somebody pointed it out. And I was like, well, there it is.
But nothing made you happier.
Mm-mm. It was fantastic. That's what I love about theater. There was a moment in Rent where I was so stressed out that I just cracked. And I was standing there having a panic attack and came inside of the hall, and there was 28 or 29 people in there building our set, painting the set, putting costumes up, and building what needed to be done, and just stepped up and took responsibility and did stuff. And it was that moment that I remembered why I do this. And it's this unspoken, unwritten rule in theater that, there's times you have to cut stuff out of your show, but everybody will try as hard as they can and spend so much time doing what they need to do to help support something that they support. And it doesn't happen with a lot of shows, and I got a lot of feedback. It's not the show, it was the way that it was run, which I attribute 100% to my production team, because we built a massive community of support with our actors and between who we are as people in the production team, that it allowed people to feel like they were heard and give back in the same manner.
So if you're falling apart in 7 days, stress level's got to be up there.
Oh yeah.
So is there a moment that you can think of during rehearsals or wherever where you went, okay, that's the stress that's made me do that?
Yes. It was during Tech Week. We had moved into the hall and our set went up and we had to paint everything. And I just, it's one of those, everything went up and my list of what I had to do sat in front of me and it just turned off. Like everything turned off and I went, cool, I need to get this done and I'll be here till 3:00 in the morning and I'll just do it. And then the stress doesn't hit you until 5 or 6 days into that, where you have a moment to stop and breathe. And the moment you have that time to sit there and go, 5 days of stress, anxiety, and emotions hit you. And it's one thing for a show like when we did Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, when we did Little Shop of Horrors, those shows, they hit me in a different way because Rent is so close to my heart, as it was for almost everybody in our cast. Everybody in our cast knew somebody that had passed of HIV, that was struggling as somebody that is homeless or struggling financially, or just had passed through COVID. So there was a lot of emotional context that we could relate to. And Rent was the first show that spoke to me as a kid. The moment Angel says, "You okay, honey?" in the show, I was like, I relate. That is exactly, I get it. Cool, this is a safe space. And to give that back to Uxbridge for this show was super meaningful, and it meant so much more. I have never seen a cast breakdown. When we closed, not one of us was not in tears. I think that's the best part about theater is you get a family for 4 months and then all of a sudden it disappears. It's lovely, but it hurts.
Common question we get at Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness is, what age can my child start karate?
And the answer is that we have children as young as 3 years old training with us. Austin is one of our amazing students, and he told us some of his favorite things about our program.
Do lots of stuff like karate, like weight falls, kicks, and blocks, and punches. I can do anything.
Austin can do anything, and we are excited to help bring out his potential and your child's too.
We use martial arts as a tool to help your child build confidence, focus, self-discipline, and respect for others.
Contact us at Okami Kai Martial Arts and Fitness to get your child started today.
Mom, wake up, it's karate day!
You're on the board.
Yes.
And how does a 20-year-old want to go onto a board?
I'm a problem solver. So I see something and go, this could be better. This could work better. We can make this better. We can build this up and put this into something that it's not. But when I started, it was like, oh, this is cool. And then as that snowballed, it went, I can do this. I want to do this. We can make this a professional company. Why do we use the same piece of set for every single show? Let's use new sets. We need to spend money to make money. And we need to up our production value.
So let's address this. Is this a legitimate ask for this company to be able to now move into a company that's going to pay its musicians, pay its director?
It's a
What's
board
the
decision.
future?
And that I can't really speak towards because we're a not-for-profit, so which means we run by a board. So it's everything is a vote. Everything has to go through a vote of all of our members. And that's kind of the challenge with running a not-for-profit is you have to look at your bank account. You have to look at the amount of shows you're doing, the cost of everything right now. Rehearsal space went through the roof. The rights went through the roof. Everything went up because of COVID. So to now have to spend that money just to put the show on, it changes your budgeting. A show right now for a budget, you're looking at an average of 20 grand before you even see a dime back. So you need to have at least 20 grand to spend to make anything, which for a not-for-profit company is really challenging when you're doing 3 shows a year. So to add in additional costs on top of that right now is really challenging. It's definitely something that I would like to add into that. Whether it's going to be a board decision, we have to go through that.
How many people are on the board?
Currently, our board has 12 people. So we have the president, we have a vice president, we have a treasurer, we have our promotions, and then we have, I think it's 8 members at large that are not titled. So we have technically 4 almost executive positions.
How do you become part of the board?
Everybody is technically part of Onstage Uxbridge if you've partaken in a show. So if you are anybody in a show, you have a vote at our AGM and you vote for president and vice president. And then we ratify the board and you can stand for yourself and say you want to run for the board. And then we get a vote going through all of our constituents and you get voted on.
Does the board have shows lined up for the whole rest of the season at this point?
Yes.
What are they?
Our first show this year was Mousetrap. And then we did Rent as the second show. And the third show we're doing is not Jesus Christ Superstar. Joust and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Sorry, different Jesus show.
Old Testament, New Testament. Yeah, okay.
There's no Jesus in that
No
one.
Jesus. There's a Joseph. So it's Joseph the Technicolor Dreamcoat that we're doing. I'm choreographing it. Christine Elliott is directing. Cindy Jacobs is the musical director along with Renee, who is vocal directing our youth chorus. And we have some amazing, amazing artists in it. Tanya Arena, who is our treasurer of the board, she's playing the narrator along with Renee, who is also playing the narrator. So they're going to alternate between shows. So it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited to work with them again.
Have you got Donny Osmond, though? Let's be honest.
I wish we had done it. It would be nice. I don't 100% connect with the show, but I connect with the choreography as far as it's concerned. That's why I can't sing in the show because I just don't know what's going on the entire time. It's a lot. But the choreo is a lot of fun, and I get to work with a lot of the same people that I've worked with for years and catering to the community once again. And it's really lovely to work with people of all ages and all skill ranges and teach and give back.
What was your best feature as a director in Rent? What was your proudest moment where you went, I did that really well?
I have 2. I think for me, one of the biggest things is my set. For Rent, I was the choreographer, director, set designer, and costume designer. And working with our amazing build team, who all are volunteer, was fantastic. One of them gave feedback of, we need to get an engineer because Tanner is putting us into this position of, we can do this. We can put shows on like this. This was the set that no one has ever attempted, to have people climbing up 2 ladders that go up from the stage into the balcony on scaffolds with multi-levels, full band in the back, and use the space that we did, how we did, was amazing. And the way that we executed it was fantastic. To add in all the extra details of the Keith Hardin images from the Act Up campaign. So we had the Speak No, Hear No, See No. We had a couple of graffiti pieces that he had done, as well as the Act Up logo that was on our set. So there was a lot of minor pieces that were part of that. And then we had every single person in our cast or the entire show had a red HIV ribbon somewhere on their body, be it a shoe, hat, somewhere, just to kind of give that tiny little nuance. My other piece that I am really proud of is the transition from an orgy into a funeral, and having that scene with the benches backlit to go from that with Angel dying in a hospital bed while there's a sex scene happening behind him, to then have it go black with a heart monitor failing and then a coffin being carried out, placed over the bed, and being picked up and carried into a church as a procession, was my proudest directorial moment. When we did that in rehearsals, I asked the cast, I'm like, none of you can move, none of you can say anything, because this show doesn't stop. It's 2.5 hours of nonstop music, and I want there to be a good 5 minutes of dead silence in the theater. Because in theater, silence is one of the most impactful pieces you can use. And to have, in the middle of a show, a heart monitor fail and just have silence, you could hear people crying in our audience.
It was incredibly moving. Remarkably moving. Congratulations.
Thank you. That's the hardest thing to do, is, as far as I'm concerned as a director, is when you have to take a moment that is super impactful and have it
hit even harder
and make people feel something for a character that they may not relate to. And the fact that we were able to do that, I attribute to my cast for keeping that level of seriousness as far as their acting is concerned.
You're a poor actor inside the coffin for 10 minutes.
He just zenned out and meditated for 10 minutes.
My daughter and I said, he's still in there. She goes, that's all I can think about.
That was one of the questions I had to ask Doug. I'm like, please tell me you're not claustrophobic. He's like, no, a little bit. I'm like, well, we'll work through that, because
You're about to get over it.
you're going to get over it. Yeah.
Take a gravel, knock yourself out.
We put a light in there for him. So he gets the coffin put over him, and he could press the light above his head to make sure he could breathe.
And what was your moment as a director where you wish you could have taken that back? Was there something you did or said, or a temper tantrum, or something that your cast would throw you under the bus for?
Yeah, he just talked about how supportive the community was. And I was like, I got my cast to throw me under the bus for this.
I think the only thing I would take back is, it's not even a take back. I think it's something that I learned from the show, is the biting off more than you can chew aspect, and knowing when it's time to say no. That attributed to a lot of stress on myself as well as my actors. Was there was pieces that were supposed to happen that we couldn't fit in, and those pieces should have been removed a little earlier rather than when they were. So some things I would like to change is the amount of time I attributed to tech that wasn't going to be included in the show, that could have been attributed elsewhere.
What's the reason for that? For eliminating a part?
So we had a screen. So for Contact, which is the sex scene, what it was supposed to happen is there was a screen, and only a screen, that we had made out of 6 different bed sheets that was supposed to roll down from the ceiling so that they were actually backlit, and you had the shadow puppetry happening on bed sheets to show that they were in different people's beds. And the rigging for it, because we don't have any rigging in the music hall, the rigging for it didn't work out the way that I had planned. And I had overcommitted myself, and I had to do that and 1,200 other things. So I didn't have time to complete correcting the rigging. So it didn't work the first 2 times. It was coming down. But as we do in theater, the show must go on, and we solutioned it immediately. We had a backup plan, and a backup to a backup, and a backup to a backup to a backup. You have A, B, C, D, E, F, G plans in case something goes wrong, including if one of our actors got COVID. I was the stand-in for all of our male leads. If one of our leads got sick, I was playing Angel or Collins or Roger or Mark. And we just prayed that none of our female leads got sick, because if one of them did, we were not going to have a good show.
And with COVID, it could have been 2 or 3 leads. So that would have been a totally different show.
We had 6 people get COVID 4 weeks before we moved into the music hall. And then the rest of us were like, okay, time to get our shots. Boosters, like go get your booster now. So we all did, just in case. And thank God they all got COVID when they did, because then they had the antibodies for our show. I was like, can you go cuddle with the rest of our cast, please? Just give it to everybody now. We'll be safe then in 4-6 weeks when we actually go on stage. Everybody
We're practicing the orgy scene.
Yeah.
But I'm not in it. You are now.
You are now. Everybody may know. I think Rent was one of those challenges for me in that element of the proximity of people in the cast, because we had 24 people. It's not a dancing show, but I'm a dancer. And one of the pieces of feedback we got from our adjudication was that it wasn't a dancing show, and some of it looked placed. So I would take some of that back, but there was so much of it. Like, I had my actors flip off Jesus in the middle of the show. And to me, that's huge for the show, because it's about breaking and the conformity, and specifically in the time. And the church was not okay with everything at the time. And they had a lot of control. So there are certain pieces that I added in and had to be overly critical of certain actors and choices that were being made to make sure that that vision was brought through, like including the funeral scene. There was a scene when they do the procession. Conrad Boyce, who played the pastor, literally stood on the platform above the queer community that was in the church and turned his back, so that it literally showed that he had that perception. He was above them and didn't give them any attention at all. So like, there's tiny pieces that I think I would like to expand on more, but.
What's your second place show? What's your next one that you have your heart set on?
Rocky Horror or Chicago, but Chicago is so hard to get. But Rocky Horror would definitely be one that I want next. So my short list is Sweeney Todd, Rocky Horror Picture Show, Chicago. I want to do Wicked, but that'll be down the line when I have the ability of flying people on brooms. Can't do that in the music hall. That insurance cost is way too high.
My best friend's husband is an IATSE technician with the opera and the ballet, and he worked Wicked.
Yes.
They had to change all the rigging for the monkeys because there were a couple of accidents and the monkeys couldn't fly anymore. They climbed because there was a little bit of an issue.
It's a little dangerous. That's the hard part with professional theater is people think that you go into technology and you're like, yeah, we can do this, you're professional. But the amount of things that go wrong, the more tech you have, the more opportunity and risk you have of things going wrong, and they will always go wrong. So that's backup A, B, C, D, E. Everything.
And did you have anything go wrong? Any accidents? There was a lot of ladder climbing. I thought, oh goodness.
We had some safety talk days, and I'm very safety oriented. We had a full day of rehearsal with heels for getting on and off tables, for climbing ladders. And I was very strict. I'm like, if you don't have to step on a scaffolding, do not touch the scaffolding. You are not to be there, and you're not blocked there in the show. You will not be on it ever. I don't want you climbing it for fun. We had a couple missteps, but nothing really bad. Jeff almost flipped a bench because the way that the benches are built. So in the middle of the song, he almost flipped a bench. But otherwise, there was nothing really overly concerning. There was a couple of people that had really, like Renee is terrified of heights. And I remember the first day she got up on the back scaffold and just her face was something I will never forget. It was this sheer panic, concern, looking for a railing. And as soon as we saw the face, we went, cool, we're going to put another railing up there for you and actually support it. And that's part of the team that we had, was we saw something going wrong and we had our plan put in place to fix it, to make sure our actors were comfortable.
Do you have to think of where your cast is as far as their ability when you're thinking of what kind of show you're going to present next?
Yes and no. Elliot, who played Mark, I think this is his 4th show ever. Jeff has never been in a musical. He's never been on stage except for singing in a band. Renee is classically trained. Michelle, who played Joanne, hasn't been in a show for years. Our Collins has not been in a show since probably university. And our Angel has been in many shows, but never to the capacity where in heels and in drag on stage. And Madison is a Disney princess, and she had to play a hooker, basically. It wasn't so much about where they're at, it's about the potential that they have and being able to see that potential as a production team and work with that potential. One of the first conversations I had with my cast was, if I give you a piece of blocking or something to do that you don't feel comfortable with, or your perception of your character wouldn't do, tell me. Because if I tell you to do something that doesn't look right or feel right to you, it will look and feel right to everybody else watching the show. It has to fit you. And there was a lot of conversations around that during the show and building that out and making sure that their character was developed.
We're going to do rapid fire.
Yes.
Okay. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Your favorite female actor?
Helena Bonham Carter.
Your favorite male actor?
Johnny Depp.
Your favorite female dancer?
Ooh, I don't have one.
Okay, we'll go with Ginger Rogers then.
Let's go that way. I don't have one. There's a lot of people that are just relatively different. It's all different styles.
Your favorite male dancer?
Baryshnikov.
Oh, yes. Your favorite director? Let's go with theater, not movie. Like your favorite theater director.
Ooh, don't have one. Movies I know. Movies for sure. It's Guillermo del Toro, by far.
Your favorite musical composer?
Oh, I'm gonna get kicked in the face for this one. Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Oh, come on! Oh, I had better hopes for you.
One of my favorite musicals is Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, Tanner, we can't be friends anymore.
I love Phantom.
I thought you were going to say something good like Sondheim.
I love Sondheim. I love Sondheim. I mean, technically my favorite musical director, I guess, would actually be Jonathan Larson because Rent is by far my favorite show. Yeah, it'd be Jonathan Larson.
Okay, fine. Moving on. What's your favorite junk food?
Wine gums.
What's your favorite restaurant in Uxbridge?
Let's go through the sponsor list. Let's go through the sponsor list.
Who's sponsored Red? Favorite restaurant in Uxbridge. I would have to say Urban Pantry because the food. Yeah, Urban Pantry is definitely my favorite food place.
Are you a burger guy?
I love burgers.
Okay, so who's got the best burger in town?
It's the burger place right beside Max.
Max, you just dated yourself. Circle K?
Circle K.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Circle K.
I love it.
What's the, oh gosh.
Universal.
Universal.
I haven't been there yet.
Some of the burgers are like, yeah. That, and then the new barbecue place that opened up across the street from the music hall. Horn Dogs. Oh my God. So good.
They do good burgers?
They do, no, they just do good food. Oh, it's so good.
What's your kryptonite? Like, so you're a dancer, right? Obviously, you have to, even for Nutcracker, fit into tights. So you're not eating your face off all the time. But what's your food kryptonite?
Butter chicken.
Okay. Well,
butter chicken or a good curry. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. And what's your best attribute as a director?
I think it's my openness to listen and be aware of what's going on in every piece. So it's the minor details, but being able to listen to other people's perspective of what that means.
What do you need to improve?
I need to improve it's the movement that means nothing. So there are pieces where there's one piece in Rent that I remembered right there that bugged me so much. In the middle of one of the songs, I blocked Elliot to walk across the stage for a line and then come back. And I was like, there's no purpose. There was no intention behind that movement. Why did you move? And it bugged me every time. And it's the intention of movement that I need to work on.
What's your biggest fear? Not with musical theater or as a director, just in general as a human. What's your biggest fear?
Getting stuck in a mundane position.
Like?
Working at a gas station for the rest of my life. Being content with something mundane.
So it's not open water?
No. That's not my biggest fear.
That's not your biggest fear?
No. Open water's up there, but...
If there's somebody, whether you know them or not, who is alive, who you'd like to spend some time with and talk to, pick their brain, who is it?
Ooh. That's a really good question. I think it would actually probably have to be the Dalai Lama. Because that's everything that they do is for others. There is no self. And that would be really interesting to get that information and how and why and how to get closer to that. Because I struggle a lot with taking out too much and doing things for other people where I don't give myself enough time. So how to balance that properly would be an amazing, amazing person to talk to about that.
And somebody who's passed away that you'd like one more conversation with?
My grandfather.
Why is that?
They moved up to Sault Ste. Marie when I moved up here with my parents. And we never really got to spend as much time together as an adult. And I miss out on some of that relationship. It's not as good as the rest of my cousins, the rest of my family. And I definitely missed out on a little bit of that relationship.
When you die and you go to heaven, you know, the Jesus talk that we had earlier, what do you hope God says to you?
Go to hell. It's warmer.
Shouldn't have flipped me off.
You shouldn't have flipped me off during this show. It would have been a better place for you here, buddy.
Honestly, I think you can let go now. Just let go. You don't need to control it anymore.
When I was a kid, my mom used to tell me, if you want something done right, you do it yourself.
Yep,
that's you.
100%.
Can you delegate?
I can delegate really well, and I can delegate based on people's skills. So I'm not going to give somebody who can't paint a painting task
But do you trust easily then? Or does it that you have to know what their skill set is to be able to trust them?
Really easily. I give 100% of my trust up front, and you lose it from there. And if you lose my trust, good luck getting it back. I am very upfront, benefit of the doubt kind of human being. But once you lose it, you are fighting to earn it back.
Final question. Mm-hmm. The mustache. How much maintenance?
Actually, not a lot. It takes me like 4 minutes to curl it, but it's going to be a lot longer. So it just has to grow. There's no cutting it or maintaining it right now. I'm sure it'll get really bad at one point because the goal is like this big. So.
Really? That's ultimately you want the handlebars?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to become those crazy German men who actually style everything out. Yep.
Telling people that they got to pay the rent.
Correct. You did not pass go. You did not collect $200. Put my top hat on. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for spending the time with us. This has been great.
Thank you guys
been
so
lots
much.
of fun.
Yeah.
So, little known fact, you have a little bit of a history in musical theater.
Yeah, I'm not so totally sure I'm really proud of it, but yeah, I did some high school stuff. Bye Bye Birdie, Guys and Dolls.
But you didn't just do those shows. You were the lead in those shows, were you not?
No, I played Nicely in Guys and Dolls, which he's not a lead. And actually, I really wanted Conrad Birdie in Bye Bye Birdie, and I got that. Now, looking back, I probably shouldn't have done that because there are some people in town that still remember that, and I wish they would forget it.
And they actually still have the video evidence too, don't they?
Yeah, some of them do. Yeah, but
we're not gonna.
But if I was gonna pick, out of the two of them, what I would be most proud of is Guys and Dolls, and the main reason was that's really how I met Tom Baker, who I think is an incredibly talented individual. We were not ready to perform that play for a few different reasons. And he came in less than a month and totally turned it around. And he is absolutely a genius.
And that's what I believe Tanner is. I think in this case, Tanner's the genius who's turned this and is going to continue to turn this musical theater company around. Yeah,
I don't know a lot about Rent. Like, you went to go see it with Autumn. I didn't see it. Where he says that he doesn't identify with Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, I don't necessarily identify with Rent, to each their own kind of thing.
Yeah, totally, to each their own. And for me, Rent, when it first came out, and I had really no interest in going to see it all those years ago. And the reason I went to see it now was to support Canadian local content. Yes, all Canadian, but also to expose Autumn to the content. I thought that was important for her to see it. But as far as the actual musical goes, it's not my thing.
I remember when Rent came out in Toronto and there was let's go see a musical. But when it's in town, it's let's go see a musical with our friends or people that we know that are in it.
Well, we are going to go see a musical with somebody that we know, and it's not going to be in Uxbridge. I'm very proud. This is my little teacher proud moment alert. Jade McLeod is a former student of mine. She is currently on the Broadway touring company of Jagged Little Pill, and she worked her tail off to get this role. She has been auditioning for the past several years. We all know the pandemic really shut Broadway down, and they're back with a bang. And she has landed the role of Jo, which is one of the leads, and she is singing I guess it's the quintessential number of You Ought to Know, which is a really powerful piece from everything I understand about this show, but we're going to go see it in the fall of 2023.
Okay, so there's me, who I just got told it's on the calendar. We're going to go see Jade in the show. I don't get the show. I don't understand. So this is Alanis Morissette's biography, or like
No, it's using her music to tell a story of something else. And quite honestly, I haven't researched it yet. So I'm going to go in a little bit naive as well.
Okay, so there's the two of us walking into a show. Totally naive, but hey, Jade's in it. Yeah,
Jade's in it.
And there we go. That's totally what I'm talking about when I say that we're going to go and do local theater. It's like, you don't need to know what it's about. You could.
But you ought to know. Aha, see what I did there? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jade made her debut here in Uxbridge. She was Sandy in the youth theater production of Grease and just continued on from there. So who's to know if, whoever is currently in these youth productions in town here or in the onstage Uxbridge productions, what their next steps are going to be. Community theaters is a fantastic jumping off point for a lot of these burgeoning performers.
Okay, so then here's another thing. We've got a new website and there's a blog section, and I actually left the comments available so you can actually comment on something that we write in the blog. We're also on social media. So I'm just going to throw it out there. You and I sat through a half an hour maybe, and that's being generous, of Hamilton. And I just didn't get it. To me, I didn't understand what was going on, and the lyrics are going too fast. To me, it just wasn't my thing. But I know it really took off and a lot of people liked it. So maybe I just want to throw this right out here, because this is one of the bad things. Well, I'll say it's a bad thing about radio, but in this case, it's obviously a podcast. We don't interact with the audience that much, other than when they send us a message. And we had a really nice message from somebody who said that they could listen to us all day.
Poor them.
Poor them. But I want feedback. I need to know what music. I ought to know what musicals are there that are really good. What should we be looking out for? And I've got my music teacher wife who loves Wicked, and I'm out of this. So you started actually this whole outro with you had a musical theater background. That's what you said, and you're right. I knew musicals. I knew roughly plays. I actually read some Shakespeare. That's how geeky I was. I read some Shakespeare that wasn't in the curriculum. Hamlet was taken out of our curriculum when I was going through it, and everybody told me, oh, you got to read it. And so not everybody, I guess, but the theater geeks that I knew said that I should read it. So I actually read it on my own. So there was a point where I was going down that path, and then I didn't. And yeah, what's out there? What should we be looking for? What's coming out that I need to sort of focus on? And if somebody can understand Hamilton and tell me that, I'd really appreciate that.
You want the Hamilton synopsis in Cole's notes.
Yeah.
That's what you'd like.
That's
Break
a good
it
idea.
down for you. And
I don't know. And I thought maybe it's just because it's sort of like a rap music type thing, I guess. And I was like, I don't know. I've listened to Eminem.
But there's a lot of contemporary musical theater right now that I don't like. It's just not my thing. And I'm a bit of an old fashioned purist. I like Kiss Me Kate. And you said I like Wicked. I do like Wicked. But I really liked Oklahoma and Sound of Music. And, the older ones where the choreography was just so slick or really classy. But where things are going today, oh my gosh, I sound so old. Where they're going today. But it's not necessarily my cup of tea. But hey, you know what? Jagged Little Pill is going to be totally different than anything we've seen before. And I'm totally open to it.
The other thing is the people you hang out with can sort of sway your opinion too. I think I saw Phantom of the Opera 7 times.
I saw it 0 times and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but Cats I've seen 3 times.
Once. And I directed it. I music directed Cats. That was a tough show to play. When you get the rights for Cats and you, as the music director, there are very specific, and if you sort of remember back to the actual sound, remember the da-na-na-na-na-na, and there's a very specific sound that goes with it. When you get the rights, you actually get the synthesizer inserts for those specific sounds because it goes with the show. It's pretty wild. So that was a great show to direct, but also a steep learning curve for me. We did not see the Cats musical that came out a couple years ago, though, did we? Like the one made for movies. And that was panned so badly. And they had I can't even remember all the Hollywood superstars dressed up.
Okay, so seriously though, Andrew Lloyd Webber's not your thing. But
Nope.
There's not like one song or...
There's one song called Tell Me on a Sunday, and it's from the musical Song and Dance. And the actual song is so incredible. It's a breakup song, but it's so incredibly powerful, and it's not as, I don't know, Andrew Lloyd Webber to me is just so dorky. Like all of it, I don't like any of it. But that's just me. I know people love it. It's just me. I'm sorry.
And we are on socials, and you can comment on our website, uxbridgebeat.ca.
And tell me why I'm wrong. Go ahead.
This has been a Capsule Broadcasting production. We have a lot in common with Brent. Sometimes we use 4-letter words to describe our stuff as well.